Hey everybody, I'm Anne-Christine Diaz, creativity editor at Ad Age, and I'm here with,
Ishan Sherwood, associate creativity editor here at Ad Age in New York.
And Alex Jardine, associate creativity editor in London.
Yes, so we are coming to you from 3 different places in the world, LA, New York. Hey everybody, I'm Anne-Christine Diaz, creativity editor at Ad Age, and what is going on?
Have you been cloned, Anne?
Yes.
Ishan Sherwood, associate creativity editor here at Ad Age in New York.
And Alex Jardine, associate creativity editor in London.
Yes, so we are coming to you from 3 different places in the world, LA.
Pretty soon it's going to start looping. It's going to be very meta.
Hey guys, I think one of you has the window open in a separate tab. If you can close that,
what is going on?
Cloned, Anne.
Yes. Okay, I think
Whatever
that was me.
stopped.
That was me. I'm so sorry, everybody. But anyway,
I like our jazzy music.
Yes.
It reminds me of if the teacher in Charlie Brown was a robot.
Should we do the whole episode in Charlie Brown voice? Anyway, we're coming to you from, I still hear it. We are coming to you from Los Angeles, New York, and London for the latest edition of the Top 5 Live. And we have all of us here today. Alex is back from vacation, which is awesome. How's your trip, Alex?
It was great. It was a real refresh. I was in the French Alps in the mountains and just feel totally refreshed and ready to go again for a lovely autumn of coronavirus.
Hopefully not.
I mean, all of us Americans are jealous of you because we can go nowhere.
But anyway, so just looking back on this past week, I feel like we got a lot of work. Like, what's going on? Isn't this supposed to be sleepy time? I don't know. We're just getting a ton of work, and a lot of it's really good. So we're excited to talk about a lot of that today. So viewers, let us know where you're watching from, and we'll give you a shout out. And just tell us where you are, tell us what you're loving as we're talking about the work, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about your thoughts as well. But why don't we kick it off with our number 5 item? And Alex, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so at number 5 this week, we have a campaign from Droga5 London for SetApp, which is an app subscription service, which is designed to help people focus and complete their tasks. And this taps into the fact that life now comes with so many distractions. So if you don't keep focused, these can have dire consequences. And it's a hilarious campaign directed by Biscuit's Jeff Lowe. Ridiculous scenarios, like a man who gets hypnotized into thinking he's a snake, and it lasts for life because the hypnotherapist gets distracted halfway through. There's also a kid who ends up hiding behind a curtain playing hide and seek for the rest of his life, growing older and older. And a woman whose husband disappears during a magic trick, and she never finds him again. So it is pretty kind of dark stuff, but let's take a look.
Dennis, when I snap my fingers, you will become a snake. When I snap my fingers again, you'll return to normal, and your snake phobia will be cured. Hello? Oh, hey, Greg. Sure, no, now's the perfect time.
Hey, Dennis.
For a new car, the sound a flat tire makes.
We've all been there. Got a task to do, and then you get distracted. That's why you need SetApp. Get access to a curated collection of apps for one monthly subscription so you can stay in your flow and always finish what you started. Guess he's not afraid of snakes anymore.
I just love that one because the comedy was totally perfectly executed. The character, the actor who played the snake dude really owned it. And also the cast around him just acted like it was perfectly normal that he was acting like a snake. And also just, it was refreshing to see some just straight up comedy in this time that's been so heavy. We are seeing a lot more comedy these days. So that's great. But it also just a straight up product ad that isn't necessarily tied to the pandemic or anything else that's going on in the world. It was refreshing to see something so normal.
Yeah, the physical comedy was pretty intense, especially on this particular spot.
Yeah, and some of the other spots which we didn't see just then, I love how dark they get. I mean, they get really quite kind of black, and it's nice that we can still go there.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Are we going to play one of the other ones?
99, 98, 97. Hello? Hey, Greg, how's it going? Yeah, I can talk.
Looks like rain.
We didn't forget anything, did we?
哇，这间房子真漂亮呀！
真幸运，这窗帘后面没有孩子。
We've all been there. Got a task to do, and then you get distracted. That's why you need SetApp. Get access to a curated collection of apps for one monthly subscription so you can stay in your flow and always finish what you started. Yeah, congratulations.
You just always want the spokesman to like fix the problem, and he just never does.
Like, okay, you can have a terrible life. That's okay.
Yeah.
I can travel through time and see it all, but I'm not going to do anything to stop it.
And I don't know what you guys think, but it's the first big campaign for this brand, which personally I had not heard of before. So what do we think? Is it memorable enough to make you think about what this company does?
Yeah, because it is actually kind of like, what the hell is it? So it's almost kind of a difficult premise to wrap your head around, like apps that, help your productivity. Yeah, it makes you curious enough about the product to actually dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's a cluttered category, right? We got Monday and, the entire Microsoft suite. I think every week a company is sort of deciding like which new productivity app are we all going to use to, keep everything like in check while everyone's working from home.
Yeah. And
the snake spot, though, did remind me of Office Space. The premise of Office Space, where he goes to the hypnotherapist, and then like Mike Machine has a heart attack in the middle, and that's why he's always so calm and doesn't care about work anymore, and that's why he gets promoted.
It actually reminded me of when I was a kid. I don't know. I saw like on late night TV or something, like a cousin showed it to me, some old movie from the 70s called and it's about this guy who literally turns into a snake, and he just slowly transforms into an actual snake. So that seeing that guy just triggered those horrific bad dreams I got from that movie.
Oh Jesus, no clip. It feels like Tetsuo the Iron Man, or the Fly with no Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, exactly. But also, it's interesting to see the work coming out of Droga 5 London. You can see, like, they're two great agencies, Droga 5 New York and London. But, you know, over the years, we've seen London develop its own voice, which kind of seems to have a lot of dark, twisted, cerebral comedy with it, like under Dave Kolba's. So, like, I've been enjoying all of it, and it's interesting to see that sort of voice coming out of this agency.
Yeah, I feel like they're really coming into their own now.
Yeah. But we have some shout outs. We have Fernanda Rivas, Kirsten from California, Pelham from Canada, Miroslava from Mexico, Martha from Wisconsin, William from Brazil, Elena from Illinois, and Melanie from Washington. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. So Ishan, you want to take us into our next one?
Yeah, at number 4 in this week's top 5, BMW wants to calm us all down just a little bit. You know, there is a 2-minute spot from Goodby Silverstein and Partners that is really just some soothing music, a little ASMR, putting us through a car wash. I don't know if you have ever taken your car to a car wash and sat in it the whole time, but it's just it's a relief. It's a release. You get away from the world for a minute. You know, as long as you're not looking at your phone. Let's take a listen.
I think if I keep watching that, I'm gonna forget we're doing this.
Just zone out.
Right, we're gonna let the whole thing play. I mean, these days, what more do you want than to just like hunker down in front of the washing machine and just like watch soap spin, you know, just to get away from
I think it is a really soothing thing. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I used to be really excited by going to a car wash because, well, in the UK, you do stay with your car the whole time, whereas I think in the US, maybe you get out. But we tend to stay in it, and you just like sit there and the thing rolls over you, and then there's a giant dryer, and it's a really exciting experience when you're 8 years old.
Yeah, actually, I do take my kids to the car wash because it's a bit of entertainment for them, and they get super excited. The car wash I go to, they have rainbow bubbles, so they look forward to the rainbow bubbles.
And I think it's really interesting that car brands are kind of getting in on this trend for ASMR and meditation and things, because you normally would associate car brands with adrenaline and speed and not kind of chilling out and being zen.
Yeah, it's that whole thing where, like, one of the trends that we observed in a piece that we just wrote actually was brands trying to address all our anxieties and fears and trying to bring a little bit of soothing to our lives. Like Lincoln, for example, partnered with Calm and the Calm meditation app, and they had this whole meditation session with Matthew McConaughey, which is something that we featured as well. So that's kind of fascinating, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. The one thing I did have about this BMW ad, it's like I'm just wondering if I had a fancy BMW, I don't know if I would take it to like a drive-through car wash. I'm wondering how many BMW owners actually go to that type of quick car wash versus going to the careful hand washing car washes where it's like 5 people in your car at once.
Where I grew up down south, you didn't go to car washes. It was kids doing fundraisers for schools. buckets and sponges, but that's because we didn't fund schools. So, go to a co-op. I think it's a good point about anxieties, right? Like, right now, nobody is like the most popular things on like Netflix are Friends or like Golden Girls. Really calm, really slow, really quiet shows that you can just like put on, and there are no big explosions and like no one screaming at each other.
Yeah, it's
like that's outside.
Yeah. We all need to chill out and escape in a car wash or in Golden Girls or whatever. So yeah, speaking of all the anxieties that 2020 has imposed on us, let's get to our next one. So you want to talk about that one, Alex?
Talk about this one. At number 3, we have Popeyes. It is celebrating the 1-year anniversary of its famous tweet, which kind of almost broke the internet, which was "Y'all good." And the stresses of the world are making 2020 feel like it's lasted too long. So now we're seeing brands trying to speed time up and bring on 2021 sooner. So Popeyes is doing this with starting the Times Square New Year's countdown 135 days early to celebrate the birthday of its sandwich. Can we take a look there? Yeah.
Chicken from Popeyes.
Did anyone else feel like that was kind of a dare? They're like testing karma. We've still got the chicken sandwich. Next up, avian flu. I'm a little worried.
Yeah, but if there is any sort of comfort food, I think that would be a Popeyes chicken sandwich for me. They're pretty delicious. They're gigantic though. I think I have to eat it like quarters at a time. But yeah, can you believe that was a year ago? It feels like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, or 8 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that's what they're trying to say. Oh, you go. No, I was saying I think it's part of that is what they're trying to say is that 2020 has just been such a bad year. I mean, let's face it, it's frankly sucked. So that they're saying like, let's just forget about the rest of this year and move on, even if it is our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting the things that they call out sort of shows how brands are talking about this year. Like they say, oh, college football is canceled and concerts are canceled. And like, oh no, what about TikTok? Not, wow, 170,000 people are dead and there's no mail, Yeah, so like they touch on it. But you can't really dive too far into it. It's certainly not, I guess, as a sandwich brand.
Exactly. But yeah, that is an interesting path they have to, or brands are trying to tread right now. How do we acknowledge the fact that the world has gone to crap, but then also push our product, but also not look like we're pushing our product. Also acknowledging the human condition right now. So that it is an interesting challenge. But also Popeyes isn't alone in trying to bring 2021 sooner. We saw Burger King put up Christmas lights or celebrate Christmas at one of its restaurants. And also Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks are bringing the pumpkin on early. Usually that's set for the fall, but I think the pumpkins entered the stores. I wonder what's next.
It's also interesting that like the tweet itself from a year ago was GSD&M, and now this is Gut. Gut worked on Popeyes last year too, but like this one specifically is just Gut, and they're very much like, remember that really popular thing that happened a year ago? We didn't necessarily do that, but it was really big.
Speaking of big, another big thing that we saw over the past week was this, our number 2 item, which you want to talk about that, Ishan?
Yeah, so this is, well, it is an ad. Let's be honest, it's an ad. Drake put out a music video, Laugh Now, Cry Later, an actual 5-minute music video, except the whole thing takes place basically on Nike headquarters after dark. Let's take a look. So he's totally decked out in Nike shoes, clothes. He's at the headquarters. He's going inside, behind the scenes. He's got Odell Beckham Jr., Marshawn Lynch. They're just hanging out. They're having a good time. It reminded me just a little bit of like, I don't know if they shot this before coronavirus, but it just reminded me of like the way that New York looks now. When you walk around, it's like it's in the middle of a blizzard, but there's no snow. It's just nobody's around. Or this is like the first 10 minutes of a zombie movie when people are like, oh, I'm gonna go to the grocery store and eat whatever I want, and I'm gonna like get some shoes, and this is great. And then the bad things happen. Although that doesn't happen in this video. Well, maybe a little later.
Or it's like when celebrities get Disneyland to close Disneyland for them. You know? But what struck me about this was that it's kind of like a huge product placement ad, but it doesn't feel weird, you know, like it feels right. Like you want to see more of what the Nike headquarters looks like. It's like this peek into this mysterious world that we don't know about.
I wonder if it's because like normally when you look at product placement, you notice it because it sticks out like, oh wow, that Pepsi logo on the can that someone's holding is very prominently placed, or you can see a billboard behind them or whatever. But this is more like Drake placement inside a Nike spot, you know, like the entire surrounding is Nike. Like there's no placement there.
Yeah. That is such a good call. That's a perfect description of it. But yeah,
it's a great exercise in how to make your corporate HQ look blingy and sexy and cool.
Yeah.
REI should have done this instead of selling their headquarters.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder how many other brands could do this, or how many other brands could you do this with, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what would still seem as cool if
I mean, Facebook has the infrastructure, but I don't think anybody really wants to see the inside of Facebook's headquarters. Or like walking around, right? Yeah.
But there was that whole movie at Google headquarters, right? What was that? You know which one I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I'll have to come back to that.
I'm gonna watch it.
Anyway, that was pretty impressive. I think also it was the #1 film trending on YouTube. Like I think just the morning that it came out. So that was pretty impressive. Anyway, those of you who are joining us late, we are Ad Age's creativity team, and we are doing the top 5 live. So let us know if you're watching so we can give you a last minute shout out. We've counted down from number 5 to number 2. So before we get to number 1, I want to talk about the other work that we really liked this week. That's worth noting. One of the things that actually we did feature this in the top 5 last week, but we didn't do it live. But I wanted to talk about the Epic Games film, for 1984, that the gaming giant unleashed against Apple. Can we take a look at a little bit of that?
Today, we celebrate the anniversary of the Platform Unification Directives. For years, they have given us their sons, their labor, their dreams. In exchange, we have taken our tribute, our profits, our control. This power is ours and ours alone. We shall prevail.
So if you put this spot side by side with the original 1984 spot, it's basically a shot-for-shot remake, although this spot is about half as long. So it just speeds it up a little bit, which I guess makes sense with our attention spans. But like the real brilliance here was the strategy, right? Because it dropped on the day that Apple banned Fortnite from the App Store, on the day that Epic dropped its lawsuit.
Yes. And to take something so iconic and then throw it back in Apple's face, this thing that, became this phenomenon in advertising that turned the Super Bowl into Blockbuster Central for big ads, and to just throw it back at Apple's face and recast Apple as the enemy, it was brilliant. And also what was interesting too, though, was how quickly they probably turned it around. Yishin, you did a story where, you talked to people who have worked with Epic and who said that likely it was created in a game engine, which is really interesting. Mm-hmm. So it shows how far technology has come in terms of how we can create things. The original production was all done in camera with a huge cast that, directed by Ridley Scott. So it's kind of amazing what you can accomplish today with technology.
Yeah. It I think is something that Apple needs to pay attention to, even if they want to act like they don't need to. Because if you look, who was Big Brother in 1984 in the original ad? It was IBM, and that's who Apple was pushing back against. And who talks about IBM anymore? So, if things go the same way. I do also think we just got a LinkedIn comment from someone I thought made a good point. A lot of Fortnite players had no idea what the reference was. Yeah, there you go, from Chris. And like I was seeing that on Twitter. People were like, I have no idea what this is referencing, but it's still cool and I really like it.
That is true, but we had a piece on Ad Age by George Sleffo, which was talking about how Apple had potentially been made uncool by Fortnite, and he was quoting people saying that even though the kind of kids that play Fortnite, even though they haven't seen the original, they're now looking it up on the back of this. You've got 9-year-olds asking their parents about 1984 and Big Brother, and actually looking up the old ads. So they are getting it.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how many like tech geeks in 1984 who saw the original Apple ad knew about George Orwell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping it makes all the Fortnite players read Orwell, because that's better than sitting playing computer games all day in my book.
So we have some more shout outs to Emily from Kansas, Tammy from Utah, Melissa from Texas, Marilyn from California, Sam from Illinois, and Amy from New York. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Also, you'll notice in the window that we have a QR code. So if you take your camera apps on your phones and take that picture, it'll take you directly to our list if you want to check out all the work again. So make sure to do that.
So another cool spot that we had this week before we get to number one, we were talking about like car ads maybe being a little more calming, but this one actually isn't. It's for Maserati, and they put 3 Maseratis back to back and basically formed a wind tunnel and a cyclone. The most interesting thing to this about me is that this is all done in camera. This isn't special effects. It's not CGI. Like they actually made a little tornado.
Yes. We take a look at that.
These kind of spots always make me wonder, like when you see cars doing amazing, crazy things like, a big Toyota Tundra pulling something that seems impossible. I always wonder if audiences think, oh, that's camera work, or that's, that's digital, or that's hyperbole, or if often they'll understand that like, oh no, a Volvo crane is actually holding those things up. That's the whole point of this spot,
Yeah, I think that's part of the PR of those things, right? Like that these are actually done by these vehicles. It's all done in camera. What's interesting about this one is that, I feel like this was a COVID pivot, right? Oh, I used that word. Anyway, but it was such an inventive way to work with our restrictions now, and it was all done in camera. It was shot remotely. This was created out of Callan, which is the new Austin shop from Craig Allen, who's the former ECD at Wieden and Kennedy, behind a lot of that great Old Spice work with Your Man Can Smell Like. So that was also an interesting turn for that agency. We know Craig for a lot of great comedy, and now they're doing this really cool automotive work. That was impressive. And also the director was Mao Morgo of Object and Animal, and he's known for combining art and tech. So that was just a perfect use of everybody's great skills. So another one that I thought was super interesting from last week was this paper products ad, a toilet paper ad for Kruger. Can we show a little bit of that?
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this, see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. Some people got the real problem. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above, I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Oh, some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above, I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. 'Cause I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me.
So that was just, yeah, go ahead.
I think that was really interesting, both because it's kind of an emotional spot about toilet paper and paper products, but also it's so much less sanitized than you would normally expect from that category. And that's going down the same road as we've seen from some of the feminine hygiene products as well, like showing blood in ads, that they're showing the baby's dirty diaper and the dog peeing on the floor. And that's quite surprising in a way.
Yeah, that poop on the baby's butt really stood out to me. It was pretty authentic.
Right, it's not just white and blue.
Smell it.
Yeah. It's an ad you can smell.
It also reminded me of the early days of the pandemic when I was like, okay, I guess I should use a handkerchief for drying my eyes because I'm saving toilet paper for when you absolutely need it.
Yeah, maybe the pandemic has made toilet paper just so much more dear to our hearts that we can now have a really emotional ad about it.
Yeah, that you can go there. So I just thought that was an interesting approach. I wonder how long you could go in that direction. And that was out of a new Canadian agency called Broken Heart Love Affair. So now we're on to our number one entry. So the latest spot from the New York Times. The New York Times and Droga 5, we know them for the famous "The Truth Is Worth It" ads, which combined text and image and video and sound design, typography, to illustrate the paths that New York Times journalists take to get to their headlines, to their stories. And it was celebrated across the industry. It won honors like top craft honors and film honors at Cannes. And when you see something that great, you always wonder how a brand could top itself after doing something so remarkable. And we don't see it a lot. You know, we see it with maybe a handful of brands. Nike's a good example. But the New York Times has proved to also be one of those. I didn't know where this campaign could possibly go, taking all those elements. But with this latest ad, I think they actually did it. So let's take a look at that.
On Thursday morning. Let me get this straight.
It's been 7 days.
I ain't slept since yesterday.
Bro, I love you, man.
Who else they call home? Time to go. I love it.
Oh my God, there's so much you can dig into on this one. But it was interesting because the previous ads were all about illustrating the work that went into the product, the work of the journalists. And now this new campaign turns the light on to the viewer, the reader, and shows what the Times does for them. So that was an interesting transition. But also the craft, it evolved too. They threw in a jazz track that that added to the emotion and the drama of the story. And it was a track from Micaiah McCraven. And that was selected by not just the Droga 5 team, but also the New York Times creative team, they have music lovers on their staff. So it was a collaboration with people deciding on what perfect track would fit this, what they call a visual poem. What did you guys think of it?
I thought it was fantastic how much they managed to pack in there. I mean, just incredible, powerful images and thoughts. And it was like a sort of journey inside your paranoid 2020 brain.
Yeah.
Exactly. As a journalist, like you're watching it, and I think the New York Times is hoping as a subscriber, you're watching and going, "Oh, I read that article. I read that article. I read that article." Right? I made that midnight pasta, by the way. It's excellent. The craft is so interesting. Like if you look at the previous spots in this campaign, the clickety clackety sound of the keys corresponds to particular letters, right? Their tagline, they're revising a headline, the like lead is changing. In this one, each click of the keyboard corresponds to a particular syllable because it's corresponding to a music track. It's supposed to sound in your head while you're watching it like beat poetry. That's a very cool, very interesting transition.
Yeah, Toby and Lori, the group creative directors behind all the New York Times stuff, they were talking about, the struggle, the challenge in how to get a poem in the heads of the viewers without actually speaking it. And I think all the sound design and the music was able, and the typography actually did that. It like for me, watching the film at first watch, I didn't fully understand what was going on, but you kind of felt what the message was, right? It is speaking to this chaotic world we have now. And so I just loved how it could move you physically in that way, just with all those different craft elements. And it is interesting too that the New York Times is speaking to all, like a lot of brands are trying to speak to everything right now, like the great Nike ad that we saw a couple of weeks back. There was a fantastic Coca-Cola spot out of Amsterdam that was talking, it talked about both, social injustice as well as the pandemic. But, those are products. That's stuff you buy. What's unique with the New York Times campaign is it's actually what the product is doing for you. It's talking to it every day. It talks to every aspect of your life, from the things that are heavy and weighty to the more mundane things, like what am I going to eat for dinner at midnight, So, they're in a very fortunate place that they get to own all of this and feel confident about owning it, I think.
Fun fact, all the clickety-clackety sounds in this spot were created by our video producer, Max Sternlick, back when he worked at Wave. Apparently he dug up an old mechanical keyboard, one of the very loud ones that a lot of gamers like because there's a lot of tactile feedback, and he recorded a bunch of sounds, and they're still using them. So you're welcome, New York Times.
So awesome.
I was wondering that too. I keep thinking about those keyboard sounds. I'm like, does that sound like my keyboard sounds? Does that sound like that? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
But anyway, in the past few weeks, we've seen some really fantastic ads. There was the big Fortnite move, and then there was the magnificent Nike spot, and also Apple's vertical film by Damien Chazelle. This work is just insane. It's remarkable, and I feel like these are going to be huge contenders come award season. Like, what's going to take the big prize? What do you guys think? Do you have favorites?
It's tough to say. I think right now, is coronavirus stuff going to be included? Is it going to be broken down into a separate category? Are people going to be looking at, are judges going to be looking at work thinking, where in the pandemic did this come out, or did this come out during lockdown, or what were production companies doing, or what country was this made in, depending on what restrictions you were dealing with? I feel like it's just so hard to say.
Yeah, we don't really know what's going to happen, but I feel like the work that's coming out now, even though there's elements of, the pandemic has influenced it, it's just become normal life now. So we're going to have to include everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't pick right now, but viewers on social, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and maybe we'll revisit that next week. But I think we're running out of time for this week. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. And you can see more of the best work every day at adage.com/creativity. And stay tuned. Keep staying tuned. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.